between love and success in the podcasting world.
You think any of this crap means anything to these people around here?
It means something to me. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you?
I'm taking maximum pleasure in introducing to you the charming
Soul of Detroit.
You asked interrogative questions around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Albert?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric back from vacation and loving that production at the beginning of the show because, little known fact, I am constantly mistaken for Billy D. Williams. So that was a very, very appropriate piece of production by Mr. Mark.
Or maybe Anthony Perkins. He was in that movie as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he the bad guy?
I think so.
Okay. I get confused with him. And, of course, I love my mother very much. So there's the other Anthony Perkins tie-in. And she's listening right now, where she's stuffed and petrified in a rocking chair in the upstairs of our house.
That's nice.
Like at the Bates Motel. So, anyways, okay. As you can tell, we're a little rusty, but guy.
Whoa, what happened there?
It's like I said, we're a little rusty, but it's great to be back. We have a terrific, jam-packed show today. You can tell we took a week off just so we could get ready to have a fantastic show. And the star of this week's show is none other than Mickey Stevenson, the first A&R man for Motown, just recently inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, along with a few other people you might have heard of, like Mariah Carey, the Isley Brothers, Steve Miller, and a few other folks who, they kind of did okay. So Mickey will be on screen in just a minute after we basically tell you a couple things that are going to happen after Mickey, because as good as that interview is, we got some other stuff we want you to stick around for. We're going to catch up with Kalina Neese is here. We also are going to talk a little bit about where we've been for the last couple weeks, talk about Brian Banks, who is back running for office, but up to his same old tricks. It was a
great piece. It was a really good piece in the paper.
And we're going to touch base a little bit with Sean's trip to Las Vegas and some intrigue in the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. But first of all, we want to thank the sponsors that make this all possible. First and foremost, Luke Nowacki, who, unlike you and me, actually has the strength and the fortitude to keep an eye on what's going on with the stock market.
Yeah, he's actually been asked, what happens if everything goes to zero? What if we have a worldwide geoeconomic calamity like we've never seen before and all our equity investments go down to zero? Then we're not going to have to worry about money anymore, right? So,
right.
If that happens, all those cans in your pantry are going to be worth more than all the world's companies collectively. But of course, that's not going to happen. The market will revert from lows and push to new highs like it happens every time. Be positioned to take advantage of the rebound when it happens. Call Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. That's 248-663-4748. 248-663-4748 to discuss your strategies moving forward.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates, Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates, Inc.
So besides planning for your retirement, the other big thing you have to do is take care of your home, the roof over your head. And there's money in your house, and one of the guys that can help unlock that money is Mr. David Hall.
Yeah, Hall is doing right now cash out refinancing because the home values have gone up. Even though rates are going up, so is the value of your home. You can tap into that home equity and get a cash out refinance from Hall Financial. It's an easy way to get thousands of dollars because they had a recent client who got back $50,000. You can use that cash. You can pay off all your other high-interest loans, maybe consolidate, or maybe even remodel your home, increase that value even more. So unlock thousands of dollars today with a cash-out refinance from Hall Financial. You can call them at 866-CALL-HALL or chat online with them at callhallfirst.com.
And if you want to contact those sponsors, you can find a link to their website at our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And when you give them a call, let them know that ML and the crew sent you. And now we got to get to the man. I was going to say the myth, but it's not a myth. It's all true. And he is a legend, a Motown legend.
Hall of Famer, man.
Mickey Stevenson, who joins us today via Zoom. Mickey, thanks for coming on so much. Read a story about you in the Detroit News by Maureen Feehan. And what an incredible cat you are.
Oh, incredible. Thank you very much. The award was just unbelievable, and how they reached back all those years and picked out the tunes, that was unbelievable. Some of the songs that they mentioned, I had forgotten about.
Well, we haven't forgotten because I think they're still selling pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I guess the whole Motown phenomenon just went on and on and on and on nonstop. Even today, I see people, they will stop me in the street. They've seen the video or on the internet. They said, "You're the same guy that did the Dancing in the Street and the other song, and you brought the Marvin Gaye and the Stevie." I mean, how was it? I mean, just go right into a conversation like they knew me, they knew about me. It was just it's amazing, and it's nonstop. I think it was, for me, it was all set up, a gift. I say gift because at the time we were doing the whole Motown operation, it was a battle every single day. The joy was hearing the music and watching the people come together as one. That was the joy of it. But the battle was every single day. So,
well, everyone knows about the assembly line idea, right? You just can model, and Barry modeled it after the car companies. How did you get a job at Motown? What did you want to do? Or did you want to be like, oh, I'm going to be a songwriter, I'm going to do this? Like, how did you get that gig?
Well, I went to be an artist when Berry Gordy was, he was producing Jackie Wilson in that time. Yeah. And I had left my singing group, and I said, oh, I could be the next Jackie Wilson. So I gathered my songs. We had a meeting, and at his apartment, I might add. And I said, he said, well, I heard about you, Mickey Stevenson. I said, yeah, man, but I know you're one of the best producers in the business because you're doing Jackie Wilson, my favorite artist. And guess what? I'm the next Jackie Wilson. He said, well, that's not what the meeting was about. I said, well, wait a minute. Let me let you hear some of my songs. He said, okay. So I pulled out my briefcase, sang about 4 or 5 songs. He said, well, you got some good stuff. I said, wait a minute. Let me show you what the hit is going to be on me that you're going to produce. He said, hold it. You got some songs, he said, but your voice is for shit. That's not what I got. That didn't make me feel too good, you know what I'm saying? So I started collecting all my music, putting it in my briefcase. I say, man, I don't need to hear this.
Good, yeah.
Wait a minute. I got you here. I want you to be the A&R man from a new company. And I said, well, that's not what I was here for. And I'm walking out the door. He said, where you going? I said, man, I'm out of here. I'm walking away, and I stopped. Remember, my mom said to me, you want to try something, you believe in something, you got to go at it. You got to work with it and develop it. It won't just happen. So I stopped. I walked back to him. I said, what is this A&R thing all about? He said, well, you're going to run the music department. We're going to find artists. We're going to find songwriters. We're going to make hit records. I said, let me get this straight. I'm going to be in charge of finding artists, musicians, and making hit records. He said, yeah. I said, I can cut anybody I want. He said, yeah. I said, can I cut myself?
Yeah, you didn't think you were a shit singer. You just you did.
No, not at all. You know what I'm saying? I was a little upset about that part, but I figured I'd work that out.
Sure.
He said, you can cut anybody, but just keep one thing in mind. If you don't think it's a hit, it could be something, don't do it. I said, okay, who do I talk to? Who's in charge? He said, you in charge. I said, I'm in charge. He said, you in charge. I said, how much you paying? $5 a day and all the chili you can eat.
Wow, that better be some good chili.
By the way, it was some great chili.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
It is such a competitive, I mean, look at all the songwriters that came through Motown. And you were there. What years were you there?
From day one all the way up until I left. I was there 59 somewhere, and I don't know. I all the way up until the late 60s, I think.
Okay, so you think of Motown, you think of Smokey, you think of Holland Dozier Holland. Was it like a sibling rivalry, or was it just vicious competitiveness? I mean, how did everybody get along?
Well, it was was competitive, but it was a lot of love and respect. Now, let me put it to you this way. I had maybe 5 rooms. In each room, they had tape recorder, and each producer that was happening, the main ones, Smokey, Holland Dozier, Norman,
Whitfield,
yeah. But I was thinking of the other producers. But they would all be in their rooms working. And what was wonderful is if I'm working on a song in my room, and I hit a wall, and maybe Brian will come in or Smokey will come in and say, man, that sounds pretty good. Whatever. I say, man, right here. I can't get right here. Something bothering me. He may think of a line or a moment. He say, why don't you try this, try that? It would work. I said, okay, great. And then I would go in, and this would happen if I went into your room. I went into Brian Holland's room, whatever was going on, we could work with each other without envy or jealousy. It was like, that sounds great, man. That's it. Let's do that. So that was the kind of camaraderie and the love, man, that was unbelievable. And it never stopped, ever. We were competitive, but we were still together. You with me?
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say went into a room, are you talking about rooms in the house that we now know as the Motown Museum on Grand Boulevard?
Yes, we had each room we had different producers. That was his particular place to operate in and work in. And each room had a tape recorder. In those days, remember the tape recorders where you had to take a razor blade, splice it, and put it together?
Yes, love that. Love doing that.
So you kind of keep up with your tunes by putting it down, and you get tired of working on that one, move on, hang on to the tape now, and then working with somebody else, you deal with that. So we would team up with each other, and it was great, man. It was really great. And the energy kept us going around the clock. We fed each other energy from each person. You know what I mean? So the only time we would stop is to eat the chili.
And then you probably don't want to record what happens after that. That's a different rhythm section. But
yeah, right.
So I got to ask you, who was at Beechwood 45789? Is that an old girlfriend's number? Is that who would we call back in the day? Who would answer if we call that number?
Well, it depends on who was dialing. No. It was just a reference number for all the girls.
Okay. So that wasn't somebody specific. It's just there's something about it that had the right ring to it.
Exactly. Absolutely.
When you're writing songs at Motown, did you have an artist in mind? Because the thing about Motown is you could have, heard it through the Grapevine, recorded by a couple people. I mean, that there would be a song that would be recorded by multiple artists. Did you have like artists in mind while writing a song, or is it, let's see who can record it and do the best version with it?
No. We had an artist in mind for each song, but because like not only each song, but each member in the group, whatever member was going to sing that lead, we'd have that in mind. Mm-hmm. Either the song on the Temptations, all right, let's get started on the Temps. Maybe Smokey would be working on the Temps. I had someone else working on I worked on Marvin Gaye personally at that time, yeah. But someone was on, everybody had a job. The main 4 or 5 producers had a specific act, maybe 2 that they were working with. And all the new writers and new producers that I would come in, I would say, that song sounds good for so-and-so, so I would give it to that producer. That sort of thing. Now, because we had what we call our meetings that we would pick and choose which was the best song to go out on that artist. Say if I produced an artist and I had that hit, then I have the opportunity to produce the next record on that artist. So that went around as well. But if my song was not happening and you were producing one of the songs on that artist as well, my job was to pick the best tune. And a lot of times I would put my song second and take yours first. I remember Barry asking me one day, he said, man, you had a pretty good tune. Why did you get a song to so-and-so? I said, because that sounds like a hit, better than the one I got. He said, but you had the last record. I said, don't make any difference, Barry. We got to stay on top. The job is to not just with a record, it's got to be the best one. Put mine in the back, put it on the album. It don't matter. Every song's got to be the best we can have out there. And he said, okay, man, you got it. So I used that. If I could back down, I would back off of anybody. I don't care who you were. If someone else did a better song, that's the song went into the meeting. But now here's the joy of it. In those days, you had an A and a B side. Mm-hmm. I'll take the B side. Don't matter. It sells the same record. You follow me?
Yeah, exactly. It counts as a sale.
Counts as a sale. But the A side is the one that's going to make it happen. Every now and then, the B side would override the A side, but that's one out of every 50 records. But the A sides that we picked were the A sides. So everybody kind of benefited. You know what I mean?
I don't think the young people here, by the way, know what the A side, B side is. Do they?
Okay.
No, we're speaking of foreign language. Mr. Stevenson, speaking of, I heard it through the grapevine. Which version did you prefer, Gladys Knight and the Pips or Marvin Gaye?
I liked Gladys in the beginning.
Me too. Even though Marvin's probably is more iconic, there's something about the way Gladys Knight and the Pips did it.
Hello, you there?
Yeah. Did we lose you?
No, we're still. So Mickey, I'm wondering. I know that was some damn fine chili, but after the hits start rolling, at what point do you go into Barry and say, I got to get a raise from this $5 a day? And what did he say when you said it's time to spread the wealth?
Well, we started getting the raises real quick.
Okay.
Because, he had enough compassion for us to put a little more money in the pot. You know what I mean? When the royalties came, the payroll was strictly for the job. As a writer, producer, that was a whole nother ballgame. But as a job, that was my pay as a job. It went up, of course, constantly. But the real money came as producing and writing. So my payroll business was just every 2 weeks I got paid a salary. that went up each time. It was rolling pretty good. And I
was gonna ask, did you have artists at some point say, you know, hey Mickey, I need a boost. You got something for me? And did the artists start competing for time with the producers when they felt like somebody was really in a groove?
When the artists start, whether it's writing songs themselves or something?
No. I mean, did you have artists saying, hey, we just did something that didn't really quite take off, but Mickey is knocking out hits over there. Mickey, can you do a song for us? I mean, did you have artists basically coming up to you and saying, you know, I need some of that magic. I'm working with so-and-so. We're not really moving the needle, but you're hot. Give me something.
No, and what would happen there, if an artist was not taking off, or say we put a record out and it didn't happen, what we would do is the new producers that were coming in and writers, I would have them write something for that artist. I could not afford to take the best producers to go on to new artists when we had to keep the ones out there rolling. You follow me? So, but I was always looking for new producers and new writers. I would audition maybe 20, 25 people every week.
Wow.
So, it got to the point that I would try to figure out how to get out of the auditions. I look out the window, I see them lining up to come in. My office was upstairs, like I could look out and see them lining up coming in. And it was just amazing because the bigger we got, the more the auditioners came from everywhere. Now, I was looking and artists, but producers, musicians. I was looking for whatever I thought would work. And when they came in, in the beginning, it was crazy. Down the line, it got to be that I wanted to get out of the auditions. And every time I felt like, oh, this is enough, someone would come in to be maybe a singer or a writer, and they would play, say, a singer, and he would sing a song like with Ivy Joe Hunter. He would sing, he played the songs, and I said, "Wow, this guy's got it." I said, "Ivy," he said, "Well, man, I want to be an artist," and I said, "Hold it, I won't sign you as an artist, but I'll sign you as a writer." He said, "As a writer?" I said, "Not only that, but you got the gift, man, and I'll work with you as a producer. You can write and produce, and if you still want to be an artist, you can write and produce on yourself. But you would be a writer. You want that deal?" He said, "Yeah." So I had a gift, shall we say, of seeing things, and I would use that. Once I knew I had it, I would just go after it from that point of view. Someone would come in and they start singing. I said, "Hold it, who told you could sing?" And the person would say, "Well, or my family or my friends or at the party." I said, "I think you better keep your day job, brother, because that's not happening."
Go ahead.
I was just real quickly. How did Marvin Gaye come to Motown? Because I remember hearing stories about Jackie Wilson singing on the back of a fruit truck when he was, 14 and getting kind of discovered that way. I don't know how much truth there is into that tale, but what was the story with Marvin Gaye?
Marvin was when Barry absorbed his sister's label. She had a label. And Marvin Gaye, Harvey Fuqua, and Lamont Dozier, they were on that label. Harvey and Marvin were very, very close. They were in a group together, of course. Harvey Fuqua of the Moonglows. Remember the Moonglows?
Mike does.
Okay.
I got their first
Harvey
CD.
of the Moonglows. And 50 Seconds of Love. Anyway.
Sounds like my honeymoon.
He went over to he went to Detroit and joined Anna's label, and brought Marvin with him because he was one of the singers of the group. And then, but Marvin wanted to be a jazz singer, pop, jazz, the whole 9 yards. And when we absorbed the label, Barry said, "Okay, we're going to be all one company now, and this is Lamont Dozier, and this is Marvin Gaye, and Harvey. I knew him from back in the way." I said, "Okay." I said, "Barry, can I speak to you for a minute?" I said, "Now, this guy, he wants to be a jazz singer." He said, "I want to hit on him." I said, "Yeah, but we don't do jazz. It's less than 50% of the market. We're wasting our time doing that." He said, "I didn't see a jazz hit. I said a hit. Now, you said you can do anything in this business, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "They can give me a hit." I said, "Okay, what's the bet?" Now, by the way, we used to bet on everything, right? Everything.
Okay.
I said, "Okay, what's the bet?" He said, $500. I said, "Oh, no. This is going to be for $1,000. He said, $1,000? I said, "Look,
and all the chili you can eat."
All the chili you can eat. I said, I got to change his thinking. I got to put him in a whole nother place. That's going to take a lot of time, a lot of work. He said, "You got to bet." So I took Marvin, and I said to him, "Look, man," he right away, he was like this with attitude because he wasn't prepared to get involved in nothing but what he wanted to do. I said, "Hey, man, look, let's work together. I see you write songs because I hear some of your songs you were doing. They're pretty good. Let's write some songs together." He said, "What's the game plan?" I said, "The plan is I get to know more about you. You get to know more about me. And maybe we can figure out to come up with a hit record on you." And he said, "Okay, we can write together. I like your stuff." And because he still had an attitude about it, he was like, "Okay." So we started writing. And the idea was we were writing songs for other people, like for the Contours or one of those kinds. And so I would write my line, he'd do his line. And I would say, "Oh, baby, why don't you come on home?" And he said, "Why don't you?" I said, "Hold on, no. You got to stay in the same kind of groove I'm in." I said, "Now you come from church, you got to go back to church on this. I got to be more soulful. You can't be all proper. You got to." So I said, "Sing it like I'm doing it. Just come up with your lines." So we worked like that, on and on. And when he got irritated, I changed that, go to the other song for another artist. At any rate, I kept doing that. So at one point, you remember the days with the tape recorder, you had to slice it, spice it, right? Those days. Yeah. I took all of my lines out, closed all of his up, He came in. I said, I want you to hear something. Remember that song we were working on, that Stubborn Kind of Fella song for the group? I said, yeah. I said, take a listen to this. Press the button. Now, he heard his verses consecutively singing in the same style. And he said, oh, man, that sounds pretty good. I said, why don't you do this tune? Okay, but I said, hey, man, if you do the tune, it'll take me off, and I can get started on working with you on your jazz album. He said, okay. I said, now anything about the song you don't feel or I don't think is right, I just sing the line to you and you just repeat it. Now, in those days, you could sing on the mic with earphones on. I could be in the control room. I could sing and you could hear me. Mm-hmm. So we got in. He said he'd do it. We cut the track. He started singing. He hit a line or two, didn't work. I said, no, man, it's, I try to put bombs around. Go there. So he would do it. Now, of course, he had a much better voice than me. So when he did it, it worked. All of a sudden, he said, okay, take it from the top. We go down. He finished it. And I said, okay. I took the tape, the disc. Barry's coming down the hall. I said, okay, man, give me my money. I said, give me. I said, yeah, man, give me my money. He said, I ain't heard nothing. I said, here, go to the office and play it. He went up there, stairs, put on a little demo, come back downstairs, opened his wallet, pulled the money out, gave him money. He said, how'd you do that? I said, you don't want to know.
I got to ask you, so you're there in the 60s, you must be late 20s, or maybe in your 30s, and a little young teenager comes in, Stevie Wonder. Did you buy into him right away? Was it just that magical, or were you like, who is this little kid? What are we going to do with him?
Well, it was the bit of the story is Clarence Paul, the writer, producer Clarence Paul. He and I used to sing duets together, like a Sam and Dave kind of act around Michigan. And Clarence taught me more about singing R&B because I came from a jazz background. So he was very good. Clarence could sing any tune and make it an R&B song, a gospel song. He had that gift. And when I took the Motown job as A&R man, we stopped singing the duets, and I gave him a job to work with me to work with the albums. In the days they had 10 or 12 songs in an album. Yeah. You want to make sure they were good, but you want to save your best ones for the follow up and all that sort of thing. Well, Clarence was very good, so I would have him work with my fill-ins to fill in these albums, make sure to get the best tunes had to be recut, you handle it, that sort of thing. But he got discouraged because he could never produce or write for a major artist. And the reason is, Smokey had his artists, Holland Dozier had theirs, I had mine, Norman had his. I couldn't pull them off and put him on. I couldn't do that because they were getting better and greater. If somebody new would come in, I'd give him a chance to produce that act. But he got a little bored with that, and I understood it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna let Big Brother go. I love him, but he's getting really, really uptight. So I called him in for a meeting, and he said, "But I'm glad you called me because I want to talk with you about something." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "I said you go first." He said, "Well, I want to leave. It's not happening for me here. I appreciate the job and all that, but I can't get to know anybody worthwhile, so I want to go." And I said, I felt pretty good because I didn't have to say it. I have to say the word. I said, "Oh man, okay, man. Okay, I'll give you some couple of weeks pay in advance and stuff." And he said, "But wait a minute, before I leave, I found this kid playing. Was sitting on a staircase, and he was playing, and he was singing, and I tried talking to him. He sounded pretty good, and I'd like to bring him in and do a couple of cuts with him." And I said, "A kid?" I said, "Okay." I thought this was my nice way of saying, "Okay." I get this thing. I said, "Okay." He said, "One more thing." I said, "What's that?" He said, "He's about 11 years old." 11 years old. Let me get this straight. You want to bring a kid here at 11 years old, and you want to cut a couple of songs? He said, just to see if I'm right. I said, "Okay, bring the 11-year-old kid going on. In the meantime, I'll cut you a check." And he said, "Hold it, one more thing." I say, you're pushing it, Clarence. He said, the kid he's blind. I said, let me get this straight. Like a kid, 11 years old, blind, you want to come in here and cut a couple of tunes? I said, are you crazy? I said, that kid falls down the stairs to do something in here. Barry Gordy's going to kill me, and I'm going to kill you. But that's not going to happen. He said, William R., he called me William R. He said, William R., your word is your bond. You say that's what it's going to be, that's what it is. Now, you said I could do it. I said, okay, Clarence, you bring the kid in. You do a couple of tunes. You got my word on that. He said, one more thing. I said, there is no more things. Every time I see that kid, I want to see you hand in hand, white on rice. You got it? No place he will be that you will be standing there holding him. Because we had a lot of stairs, basement, and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't taking no chances. But I gave him my word. He said, okay. 2 weeks later, we were in the studio. The musicians had just session, and Clarence comes in with Stevie Wonder in his hand. He brought him in. He walked over to the drums. Stevie felt the drums. Benny got up. Stevie sat down. Now the band is still kind of in the pocket, coming out of the last song. Stevie sat there on the drums, did a pickup first. Boop, 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 tick, right in the groove with the band picks. He was holding. Benjamin looked at him, and then Clarence grabbed him. Stevie got off the drums. Benny sat down, kept the groove going. Walked over to the organ. Earl Van Dyke was looking. Stevie felt the organ. Earl got out the way. He started playing. I said, wow. Got the kid off. Clarence took him off the organ. Earl Van Dyke said, now the groove is cooking. Now the boys is hot now because they're saying they fired up about this kid. He goes over to the microphone. Reached in his pocket, pulled out his harmonica, and kept blowing. Never broke the groove, not one time. Wow. Put the mic back in his pocket, and then started saying, oh, baby, why don't you, why don't? The groove never stopped. I left the room, went over to Barry's office. I said, Barry, we got this little kid in here, 11, 12 years old, something, blind. We want to sign it. He said, what? I said, Barry, let's just sign it. The guy has got it. He's got gifts I've never seen before. Barry said, how old is he? I said, 11 years old. Blind. I said, am I the NR man here? Okay, let's sign the kid. He said, but I said, I already know about the school. The person got to be within what the law says. I already know all that stuff. That's got nothing to do with it. He said, okay, you responsible. I said, bam. We did.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the beginning. Now, of course, we had to get in those days, you had to have a teacher with him around the clock, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The law and all the stuff. But I told him, I said, forget all that. We take care of all that. It's got to be done. And he did it. He signed him. So when they say I brought Stevie, I didn't bring Stevie. Clarence Paul brought Stevie. But the gift was there, and I was insisting on making sure that we signed this kid. Wow.
And you still fired Clarence.
Clarence did his first couple of hits on him. I didn't fire right away.
Okay. So he bought himself some more time. He's like, I got a 75-year-old guy who's overweight in a wheelchair. What do you think? You're like, just once, Clarence. I gave it a one shot. That's it, man. We're not doing it again. But hey, Mickey, before we let you go, because I mean, we could talk to you for hours. But you should have a show because the stories you have, and your energy and your charisma. I mean, you'd put us out of business. So actually, on second thought, don't get a show. Go find Clarence and tell him you're sorry. But how do you know a hit? How did you write a hit? How could you listen to something or feel something and say, okay, because A&R, you're the guy who has to go out there and identify the hits. How did you know that when you had a winner?
I could only answer that by this. And I think it's the same for all creative people. It's a gift. To take it a little further, for me, all of us have gifts. Everybody has gifts. God gives us all gifts, more than one. Some of us have 2 and 3 kinds of gifts. You got them, he's got them, I got them. When you recognize that it's a gift, if you're a writer, all of a sudden you're writing better and things are happening because you're writing it. It is the gift that's being developed and you're on it. Everything is in the air. You pull it down with your gift and connect. And this is a gift from the man upstairs. I had the gift. When I found out I had the gift, if I didn't get the feeling or hear the thing that made me say yes, I wouldn't take you. If I heard it and I felt that it could be developed, I would go with that move. Sometimes it would be good, but not great. The great part came in when you recognized that you had the gift as well. That's when we clicked. That's when the great songs come out of you. That's when you, as a writer or a singer, would listen to someone else who had their gifts, could give you information. And I know this may sound complicated, but that's the way it worked for me. And I use that at every move I made with others. And I became a brother to this artist, a cousin to that artist, a friend with that artist. I meant something to them more than just the A&R man. And they would call me. I would get calls 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with a problem. I would handle it. So that was all a part of keeping them fired up, believing in themselves. So with that, it never stopped. To this very day, it doesn't stop. And everybody around me I felt had the same kind of thing in their fashion and the gifts that they had. So that kept the hits rolling, that kept the love happening. And those who did not kind of feel that I didn't think they felt it, I would not even bring them into the company. I turned down some acts that had hit records. And Barry said, what about that artist? I said, well, they're going to bring their ideas to where we're coming from, and that's not where we're at. And that's going to make it hard for me because now the artist would admire that person and listen to that, what he's saying or she's saying, and it takes us out of the pattern that we're in. And once that starts, I'll have a harder job. So I'd rather not sign the act. And Barry said, but they got records. I said, Barry, how many records on this chart? He said, about 7, 8. Are they our records? I say, so let's not have that one create a problem for us. And that's the way it went. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I want you to get the feeling of how this thing worked for me. Are you with me?
Yeah, no. It kind of sounds like art, when you see it, but
or
you
hear it.
You made art too. I heard you were a crap singer, but everything else you seem to really, everything else I think you probably figured out.
Yeah. It was night and day. I wrote it all in my book. This is my book.
Well, yeah. Tell us about that book. Where can folks can they find that?
Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it. Motown's first A&R man. The A&R man.
On Amazon, or you can go to my site and order it. And then for me, I would also autograph it for anybody that wants it direct to them. Or you can go to Amazon and purchase it. The A&R man.
Mickey,
everything I've meant to you plus a lot more is in this book.
Oh, I think we barely scratched the surface. What's your website, Mickey?
Stevenson, Mickey Stevenson.
Okay. And we'll have a link to that on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. We don't need to give Jeff Bezos any money. Get your book from MickeyStevenson.com because you'll get it autographed from the man itself. He's touched greatness. He'll touch your book. Maybe some will rub off on you. If nothing else, it beats reading the comic section. So Mickey Stevenson, recently inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I'd say an early nominee for the Storytellers Hall of Fame, too, if they're asking for votes. But we really appreciate you joining us today on the Soul of Detroit, and thanks for everything you've done for Detroit, for Motown, and for the music that we still know and love.
Oh, man, thank you. I'm doing musical plays now.
Okay.
And I'm doing Sister Sing with Billie Holiday, Josephine Baker, Dinah Washington, Mahalia Jackson, Bessie Smith, Dorothy Dandridge, and Eartha Kitt. These ladies were incredible. They had a fight of unbelievable battle to become successful, and they pulled it off. And so they tell their stories together and they sing together. It's incredible. And I'm doing Azusa Revival, the musical. Azusa with in 1906, look it up, true story, and had people of every race, creed, and color coming in praising, blind, be able to see, crippled people walking, talking. It was unbelievable. And it happened in Los Angeles in 1906, Azusa. They asked me to turn that into a musical, which I just finished. Unbelievable. But check it out for yourself.
Yeah, we'll watch for those. Hopefully they come to the Fisher Theater, because I think Motown did really well when it was here a little while ago, and a lot of these great stories are showing up on the stage. So it's great to have many ways to consume the music and to hear the backstories, which in a lot of ways are even more interesting than the tunes themselves.
Very good, my brother. Very good.
Thanks,
Right.
Mickey Stevenson, star of the show and Hall of Famer. And you don't need me to tell you why. You saw it right there. So thanks very much, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you for having me.
God, a little list of hits, man, that he wrote.
Oh.
We didn't even mention Dancing in the Street.
Oh,
Devil with
yeah.
the Blue Dress.
It Takes Two.
Yeah, God.
No, it sounds like he not only knew a hit, but he was willing to pass up some. He was willing to pass up some doubles and triples just so he only had home runs.
Yeah.
And I like the explanation of it's in your head or you're in your ear and you hear it, but you can't really explain what it is. I was watching a documentary about Brian Wilson. I don't know if you've seen that, Mark. You may have. I can't remember the name of it. Sorry, but the Beach Boys leader, singer for you young people here. And anyway, he was asked the same thing because he wrote hit after hit after hit after hit.
Plus, he was nuts. So
he was, but he said, I don't know. I sit down at the piano and I hear something in my head and it comes out through the fingers. Or I hear the orchestral parts or whatever, but he couldn't explain it.
while his feet are in a sandbox.
Yeah,
Because of Dr.
later.
Landy.
Yeah, exactly. But
Dr. Landy messed him up even more.
But just that creative process, it's unexplainable, but you recognize it.
I know. I wish I could be like that.
I just can't believe how timeless his music is. I'm 20 and I still listen to his music.
That's what I was
now.
wondering. Do the kids today?
I love Motown. I listen to it all the time.
Great.
I might be younger, but I am still from the Detroit area. It's my culture.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Well, I was driving a shuttle bus in Ireland, and there were some guys from Italy there, and they want to talk about Motown. And this is in the 90s, and one of the things that was going on here in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was talk about developing a Motown theme park on the site of the old headquarters there at Woodward and I-75. And there were people who were very serious about it. It never really got off the ground, and now we see all this work going on at the Hitsville, USA, where they're developing that site as sort of a cultural center and a tourist attraction. And I think it's so long overdue, and you kind of wonder, it's like, boy, the further we get out from the 60s, is there going to be an audience for Motown? Did we miss our window? But I don't think so. I think people are going to want to listen to Motown in the same way they still want to listen to Mozart. And there's lots of German guys with wigs making music with harpsichords and shit like that. But Motown was from here. You want to get Motown, you got to go to here.
I was listening.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, did I do that?
No, I turned you down because you were talking off the mic.
Oh, sorry.
It's crazy.
Sorry about that. I was
Quality control filter.
Yeah,
kicked
no,
in.
I was trying to answer a question. That's my bad. I was listening to Sexual Healing on the drive-in.
Yeah.
The version of Hot.
Is it a self-help
Hot
tape?
8? Is it Hot 8 Brass Band? Hot Brass Band 8? They do a pretty cool version of it. But yeah, speaking of Marvin Gaye.
Well, Dancing in the Street, we're kind of kidding about that. It's like, didn't Mick Jagger write that? I mean, Mick Jagger did that song.
Van Halen.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth did
Van
that
Halen,
song.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, these songs...
Oh, he was part of Van Halen? I thought it was Sammy Hagar.
Two different bands.
I know,
I don't want to go. I don't want to get into that argument.
No, I'm sorry.
But this music can...
What do you prefer?
It really does have... it is timeless. And it's Mickey Stevenson, man. He's the first guy... After Berry Gordy, you kind of wonder, was he employee number 2 or 3 or 4? And he keeps talking about Smokey Robinson as a producer, as if Smokey Robinson never said, it's like, so Smokey was a producer. It's like, how talented were these cats all jammed in this little ass house?
Unbelievable.
On West Grand Boulevard.
By the way, he was shaking his head no when I was talking about the tale of Jackie Wilson singing on the fruit truck. So I forgot to ask him. I wanted to elaborate on what that real story was.
Well,
how he was discovered as a kid.
We'll have to have him back on because there's a million things to ask him too. Because he went to start his own label, which I gotta imagine Barry was none too pleased about when he would leave.
Oh yeah, no. Well,
Barry bolted for L.A. So
yeah. No, I think we may want to try to have Mr. Stevenson back on and kind of do part 2.
That would be great. By the way, I was glad he said Gladys Knight in the Pips for the Heard It Through the Grapevine version.
You almost
That's your
jumped out
favorite?
of your chair.
I just think it's just a great, and Marvin Gaye's version's great, but yeah, there's a lot more energy in Gladys Knight's version.
Well, I wonder how many artists too, like he was able to turn Marvin Gaye, but how many people went in there and said, "No, this is what I do, and if you don't see it, then you're going to be sorry." And they went out, and it's like nobody ever saw.
Think about what a
again.
loss that would have been to us for the last 60 years if he hadn't turned Marvin Gaye. That would have been fine if he sang jazz, whatever, but it wouldn't have reached the same amount of people. Yeah.
Marvin's career and life is just fascinating. I mean, incredibly sad ending.
It is, but then the music he made, particularly in the 70s, was
Well, that's what I was
just
going to say. His switch, which I think
just unbelievable.
I think Mickey was gone by then, but that switch to be a very political song,
brother,
yeah, really
no, just
freaked Barry Gordy out from everything I've heard, because he's like,
and that's probably
"This isn't what we do."
But that's what that's his most lasting.
Yeah, that's one of the greatest albums of all time.
Absolutely.
Period.
Oh,
yeah. Wow.
I still think more.
We would never listen to something like that here. By the way, what's that? Go ahead.
Well, because we get kicked off of
I still
any
think,
streaming platform if I play any of these
Yeah,
things.
sorry.
we booted immediately.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, new order.
Morrissey's version was better than Gladys Knight's, but I didn't.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to pull rank. but-
Okay, on that note,
So
What's going on?
We took a week off. In large part, thank you to intern Patrick putting together our best of show. Which, if you didn't hear it, check out last week's best of show. I did not hear it until recently, and I thought it was pretty good. Now, of course,
there's a lot of you on it.
Mark
that's why.
Mark pulled. Actually,
like
I thought there's more Fellhauer on it than there was me. But
I put it together.
But Mark stitched all together, and we had some good folks on, man. So the guys who were trying to claim that the Whitmer kidnapping plot was part of the whole January 6th insurrection fake thing. Al Sabatka talking about his unceremonious departure from the Red Wings, and of course Valeria was on there talking about how they got out of the Ukraine one step ahead of Putin, and if she thought that was traumatizing, she and her family went to Cedar Point with Patrick. They're still trying to recover from that.
Oh yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. I was told by Valeria that her brother didn't really speak any English, and I could tell that the kid wasn't really warmed up to me all that much, which at first made me pretty sad because he
not
looks
uncommon experience.
Yeah, exactly. Which
waiting for that.
It was a little disappointing at first
Like
because
clockwork.
he looks a lot like me, and he had like the same look on his face that I remember seeing in older videos of me when I first moved to the U.S. So
From the Ukraine.
No, not Ukraine. From the UK.
From Camden
similar. Sorry.
From Camden Town, perhaps.
No, Essex.
Essex. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. And so, and so I was told he didn't speak a lot of English, and eventually later in the day he had started to warm up to me, and he asked if he could sit with me for one of the rides, and I'll never forget this. This was so funny. So we got into the rides, and the guy who's running the ride is like, "Hey, if you're having a good time, say awesome." And this kid, he puts his arms up in the air and he says awesome. And I just looked at him and was like, "Wait, you can understand what he said?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, so you've understood everything I said, yet you've like shrugged and said, I don't know," every time you've talked to me. And, it was really cute. And at the end of the day...
It's a lot like when Sean and I have a conversation. At some point, he acknowledges that he understood everything I was saying. He just didn't dig it, I guess.
I couldn't stop laughing because Sean's head was in the shot for like 30% of it.
The dome.
And then I tried moving it. That was
just the dome.
That was adorable.
What did you say? Did you call him out? Did you say, "Hey, comrade"?
No, I mean, it's just, I understood, like, not try. I mean, this was really only the second time he had ever seen me. This is the second day he ever saw me, so I could definitely understand that he didn't quite know me or trust me yet
his
to
cotton
talk to me.
candy in his corn dog.
Yeah, I think one of the best parts
for
of
you
the
to
day.
shut the f up.
I was expecting their mother to be the one who wasn't really going to go on a lot of the rides.
Get the camera off me.
I like the Sean cam. What are you talking about?
If you are watching us on YouTube right now, this is hide the children. This is not safe for work.
By the way, why haven't we heard from Kalina?
Why don't we just have five cameras on Sean?
Patrick's trying to get to the end of his story.
I'll try to get through it a little
I know. Mike Jr. over here.
And, I expected the kid to really be excited to do all the rides. And I couldn't have been more wrong about that. Their mother was like an adrenaline junkie. She was so excited to go on all the big rides. And, the kid, he didn't really want to go on any of them. So I had to
But how did you know if he couldn't speak English?
Oh, well, Valeria speaks English and Ukrainian, and Russian. They actually predominantly speak Russian.
Hopefully that does not come in handy in the future.
And so, at the end of the day, he was a little bummed that we didn't get to go on as many kid rides as I wanted us to go on for him. So I took him to one of the carnival games.
You can adopt him?
I mean, like,
sounds like you want to adopt him now.
No, it was just I had like an affinity with him. I could relate to like.
And it's Artur, right?
Yes, his name is Artur. And so he told me on the car ride there that we both like Pokemon. His favorite is Charizard, so we managed to win him the biggest Charizard they had at the park.
I don't know any of those words. No,
I
I'm
know,
an old man.
I know Charizard, but
Can we get Mickey back?
before we
It's off you now. The camera's off you, Sean.
before we
Now it's back.
Before we get a blow by blow of the drive home, because I understand it was quite a long ride home.
Welcome to our world.
Kalina, I heard it through the grapevine that you've been busy this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working a lot. Last week
Stitched it
I
all
was
together.
dog sitting and chicken sitting, so that was a lot of fun.
And how were the chickens?
Oh, I love the chickens.
Tasty.
Did they want little hugs and stuff?
They actually were very friendly. They'd follow me all around the lawn and stuff. What's your problem with chickens?
I don't like birds. I don't like birds.
I don't like birds
I don't like birds at
either.
all.
Did they
I
put an
didn't-
air tag on you?
Crows are pretty cool.
No, but the dogs did have air tags, and it kept showing up on my phone saying that there's an air tag following you because I was just taking the dogs with me everywhere I went.
Oh, jeez.
That was fun. But no, the chickens were awesome. At first, I was like, I don't like birds. It's going to be weird.
gross.
But I enjoyed having my little chickens following me around, and I got like 20, 30 eggs just in the time that I was there.
Really? What's the going rate for chicken sitting?
I got about $100 a day.
Whoa.
But it was 2 dogs and 7
Wow.
chickens.
God.
So
More than $5 a day Mickey got to make some of the
All the
greatest
chili you
music
want.
of the
Exactly.
last 60
Well,
years.
she had the chicken chili. That was pretty good.
I had to get up at 6 a.m. every day to let the chickens out and feed
And then
the dogs.
go right back to sleep. And
No, they didn't go to bed till 9. So I was
so you're up for 3 hours.
no 9
9 p.m.
p.m.
Oh no! But you did, so you had to stay with them from 6 to 9.
Well, kinda. I had the dogs and I had to
Okay.
do all the dog stuff. I had to change the water the plants.
So $100 a day now sounds a little more like exploitation.
Yeah, that's less than minimum wage if you take it down to the hour.
It's true. I mean,
I was also
It's more
napping
than
a lot
it's
of
more
the
than
day.
Patrick's gotten all summer for sitting with this chicken shit. Although he did get $20 from Bryant.
That's 15 hours.
As
right?
did
So,
Kalina.
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully you guys got the money that was sent.
Yes.
Oh, yes, thank
by
you.
one of
Thank
our
you.
generous listeners. So
Got me a nice beer at Cedar Point.
By the way, I went out to my car the other
Just
night,
about do it.
Mike, late, and I saw a skunk, and he walked up like he wanted to be petted.
Where is this going?
I am not. That's all I'm telling you. That's it. That's not like a Mike story. A skunk walked up to me and looked like he wanted to be petted.
Did you?
No, but I just thought, wow, I've never seen. It was unusual.
So we got
He hopped up there like a cat, kind of almost like
Artur, who looks like Patrick and won't talk to him. Then we got Sean with the skunk who wants to be petted. Are you saying that you have some skunk-like qualities? I mean,
No, there's no metaphor. I found it a little unusual that a skunk walked up like a domesticated pet. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
well,
sensed you were an ally.
Yeah, the Steve Irwin
Maybe.
show is on right after this one, but thank you.
Maybe he smelled weed on you.
Or Jim from Wild Kingdom.
If it were 1985, sure.
Okay, fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I'm
People don't
talking about.
smoke weed anymore.
Man, the geeks have inherited
That was for you.
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
You're welcome, Sean.
So this week's geek is all of those politicians who have endorsed a candidate who they should know better.
No, don't slow down, please.
That's Still trying
We get to the Geek of the Week. Can I just make this observation after 3 years? We get to the Geek of the Week, and there's a period after every word all of a sudden.
Well, it's usually because I'm trying to put together the relevance of the skunk story, and it's really gumming up the symposium.
So you're distracted.
So why did he mention that skunk thing again?
Because we were talking about chickens being friendly.
He had a story too.
It was chickens being friendly. You know,
He just wants to be a part of the conversation.
I knew where you were.
He's trying. He's trying.
Yeah.
to
I got you. I found it interesting.
Yeah, well, it's not
short.
It was short. It's quick.
Trying to help you out.
Yeah.
It was a good story, Sean.
Trying to help you out. You throw me under the bus.
So, kids, here's what we learned today. We should pretend we don't speak English just so this goes by faster and we get to the elephant ears as quickly as possible. But our Geek of the Week, my Geek of the Week, is all those politicians who endorsed a gentleman named Brian Banks. Now, I know he listens to this show because when he complained that I was exposing some of his latest problems, he said, "You're just doing that because I supported another candidate for city council, as you mentioned on your November 2021 podcast." I thought, hey, there's another listener. All right. But also...
because that's a lesser evil than... How many felonies has he been convicted of?
Well, so this is one of those things where somebody says, yeah, I did all that shit, but you're a dick too. You know, I'm not really sure that's exculpatory, but yeah, no. So if you missed it a couple weeks ago in the Detroit Free Press, I wrote, I think essentially the kind of column that I hope to write on a regular basis. Unfortunately, there are so many people who are worthy of examination, but the column is on guard. It's about holding politicians and public officials accountable. I wrote about Brian Banks, who I've been exposing since 2012. Not in the way he exposed himself to one of his employees, allegedly, but you know, his whole thing was all these things I've done wrong, these 8 or 9 felonies that I was committed. That's all old news, so there's really nothing to talk about. Well, actually, there's quite a bit to talk about, like his questionable dealings with the charity that he created, his continued failure to pay his bills, and you name it, all kinds of transgressions. Now,
the loan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was awful.
Which loan now?
You're right.
Brian Banks.
The one where he claimed he worked for the law firm.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was his most recent criminal case. But the amazing thing about this guy is his game is old. It's been known since at least 2012 when I first exposed it. And yet, when he runs for county commissioner, he's endorsed by people like Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, State Senator Stephanie Chang, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, a lot of politicians that I think people consider to be fairly effective, fairly, somewhat astute, and they support this guy. And we're going to talk a little bit when we hear from our listeners about what kind of message this sends to the rest of us. But Mayor Duggan was good enough to respond to my queries, and I said, "Why are you supporting this guy?" And he said, "Well, he's great on constituent service. You know, he listens to everybody, and he won't stop working on a problem until it's solved." Well, I know, and I noted in the column that he is known for responding to people and being engaged with the community, but he's also known for trying to hit people up for free meals, trying to bum stuff from folks, not paying his bills, living very high off the hog, enjoying the good life while he represents people who may not have those opportunities, and just being really nasty with folks who oppose him. There's tons of people who contact me on a too regular basis saying, "God, I just got torn apart. I just heard about, Brian Banks ripping into somebody because they don't fall in the line behind Brian Banks." And now he's running for Wayne County Commissioner.
So do people support him because they don't want to get attacked by him?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, Mayor Duggan said he supports him because he's a hard worker and he, is responsive to people who bring their problems to him. But at the same time, I have to look at all the people we have in Michigan and in southeastern Michigan and say, this is the best person you can think of for this position. This is someone who has betrayed the public trust time and again, someone who's shown that they haven't seemed to have learned anything. He has a self-published book that he claims is a #1 bestseller. It's something like number 83,000 in Amazon. It's a bestseller to who?
His family? I don't know.
Well,
#1 bestseller to his family, maybe?
It could be, because I'll tell you, I've had a lot of people on the east side who said, "Hey, I want to give you the copy of Brian Banks' book that somebody gave me." I mean, I'm afraid they're going to start stacking up in my basement like my old Kwame Sutras.
By the way, Kalina has a question.
Since when?
Oh, I thought she wanted to know. She noticed that there wasn't a script for Geek of the Week.
She slid me a note that just said, "What was with that skunk story?"
Yeah, she was curious what this section actually was.
It's the Geek of the Week.
Oh, okay.
I always know what Geek of the Week is.
I mean, I thought your article was really good. I just can't believe he just keeps bouncing back with the support of some pretty big people.
All of his articles have been good.
I don't know about that.
He's been killing it.
It's that skunk thing.
He's been killing it with this spot, and I'm hoping
Sean
he'll
came
still
in with
be.
this skunk story, and I said, "I'm like Mickey Stevenson. I'm like, I don't think that's going to be a hit." And he's like, "Well, I'm taking it to another label."
Yeah, I'm hoping he'll still be with the Free Press a year from now because he's killing it.
Sean, you're an amazing contrarian because you're contrarian to yourself. You just ragged them, and then you're like, "No, all your pieces are good."
No, I don't. Yes, I do.
Is life really that?
And then I tried to support
white?
you, and you're like, "Yeah."
Is life that black and white?
Huh? No, I just.
Can you give your people you love a hard time a little bit, but
of
also
course.
appreciate the work they're doing?
That's my MO, man. You
okay,
know.
then.
So trusted politicians tell us to trust somebody who can't be trusted. You're our Geek of the Week.
See what Vegas does to a man.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Yes.
I'm deep in thought. I'm reflecting. I'm
Thinking about that skunk again.
I'm having a moment. No, I've moved on. I've moved on.
You finally moved on from the skunk.
Like the skunk, the closer I got, the more I thought this isn't a good idea. And I scuttled back under a garbage can or in the bushes.
Yeah, what do we have
I want to
today
know what happened to
listen
this skunk, by the way. So he came up and said hi, and then what happened?
I just walked away.
Such a great story.
What a great ending to a story.
That was the end of it.
So there was a time that I didn't really care for new wave music, and there was a woman who turned me on to new wave music, and this was one of her favorite bands, and she used to tell me that she thought of me when she listened to this. It's a little song called Appetite. Unfortunately, when I fell in love with her, she decided to go on a diet.
Please be careful. It's never